after what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard, I don't believe anything the government tells me anymore.
I'm kind of with you on this
I
one.
believe nothing that the government tells me. In fact, I'm going to tell you something that may shock you. I believe that our government is the most corrupt government in the world.
Whoa, Mr. Greta.
More corrupt than Russia or China, because in those countries, at least you know they're screwing you over. In this country, they make believe that they're here to help you. And they've been screwing us over our entire life. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I was taught in school, probably 50% of it, is lies. Lies.
That's true. I'd agree
I've
with
been
that.
lied to. My education system lied to me. And unless you go out on your own and you really start getting into these things, you're going to go to your grave believing certain things. So, yes, I believe that we did this moon landing. Until 20, 25 years ago, I'm traveling on our trains to go to New York City for 40 years. 40 years I worked in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We can't get a train reliably into New York City every day in the 50 years that I've been working. Do I believe we sent a capsule to the moon and brought it back with people alive on it? And we can't get a train to New York City from New Jersey?
You know what's also interesting? So I saw this recently. Apparently, we don't have the technology to do that again. Have you ever heard this theory? Like, they're like, oh, yeah, we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, Mr. Guy, I might just ask, can you put this on the chair over there?
Sure.
Because I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want to block us. But, yeah, like, the theory of that, to me, like, how do we...
Well,
they say that we did it on, like, a floppy disk, basically. And then they're like, yeah, we don't know how to do it, ever.
I think in watching one of these interviews, just in this past year, I think they slipped up on TV. They were talking about the moon. Not the moon, the Mars exploration. And they actually said in the interview, we have to learn how to get to the moon first, and then from there we can go to Mars.
Really?
So that's today they're saying that. Okay?
So I'm going to take you the other way. Have you ever seen when Neil Armstrong came back from the moon and he talks about the monoliths? Have you ever seen that video? He comes back and they're doing an interview and they're like, can you tell us what the moon was like? And he goes, well, there's these giant monoliths. And they cut him off. They're like, hey. So I believe that we have been to the moon. I don't believe that the footage we have seen is real footage.
I see.
Yeah. So I think a long time ago I showed you the video with the green screen errors that they had and the cords. I don't know if you ever watched that. I can pull it up.
I did watch that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I've seen some of this stuff in the supposedly in the space station.
Yeah.
And the somersaults and stuff. And the guy's tied off on cords. He's not floating in gravity.
As someone who's a video editor, they're pretty obvious things. Like they're little things that 20 years ago, maybe people wouldn't have seen, but nowadays, I mean.
Well, I do recall many years ago getting some footage that during the supposed moon landing in July of '69, that there was a section of the audio that was blocked out when Neil Armstrong came down that ladder and he did that famous speech, one step for man, one giant step for mankind, or whatever he said. But before he said that, he was communicating with Houston that he said, we have an audience here. When he first came out of the craft, and they said, what are you talking about? He said, there's some giant ships on the horizon watching us here.
Whoa.
And they said, could you describe it? He says, yeah. He says, it looks like a flying saucer, and it's probably 3 miles in circumference or diameter, whatever. And they said, don't mention another word of that for the rest of the trip. Now, at the time we were watching this on TV, they had this delay. So you weren't hearing anything real time.
Yeah.
However, there were ham operators around the world that were tapped into the actual feed. Mm-hmm. And they recorded that, and they heard this. Wow. And that is still out there to this day of what he said supposedly when he came down a ladder. But be that as it may, maybe I'm just jaded because I spent 40 years on the train.
Yeah.
Maybe we did go to the moon, okay? But as you say, the footage, I can't believe it at this point now. I can't believe
I'm
the-
with you.